Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today I have a recipe for a dessert called Kheer. It's also known as rice pudding in the Western culture, but this is the Pakistani way of making it. Very simple ingredients we need for this. Just whole milk, 2 liters of whole milk, 2 cups of rice, 3 cups of sugar, 5 cardamoms, and butter, half cup of butter in a large silver pot. And we begin by melting the butter and adding the cardamom seeds to the melted butter, and then right away we'll add the rice and 6 cups of water, and then we'll just let the rice boil and cook very well, and so it's almost mashed. And once it gets to that point, we'll add the 2 liters of milk and we'll stir it continuously until it comes to a boil. And we'll be doing this on high heat until the milk starts to bubble and looks like it's about to boil, and then we'll just lower the heat to a low setting. So we'll minimize the heat, and then we'll just let it cook, stirring it occasionally. So first we'll begin by, as you can see, just cooking the rice and making sure it's fully mashed. Just cooking it in water. We won't add milk at this point, but once the rice is fully boiled and mashed, we'll add 2 liters of milk to 2 cups of rice. So you can see we're just going to add all the milk in there, and then we'll continuously stir it for takes about 5 to 10 minutes until the milk actually comes to a bubble or a boil. So and we want to make sure that it doesn't boil out of the pot, so that's why we need to stir it continuously, mixing the rice with the milk and the butter, and also make sure to put the cardamom seeds in there instead of the powder, because the powder gives it like it just looks bad in the milk. It's so the Kheer is, since we're only making it with rice, it's very white, and if we add the powder gives it that grainy look. So that's why we always add the seeds, and then the seeds actually we don't see them everywhere in the Kheer. We just see it like, you know, we see the seeds, but we don't see like the powdery color in there. So there you can see I'm just going to stir it continuously for about 5 to 10 minutes until the milk starts to bubble, and then we'll just lower the heat to a low temperature, and then we'll just let it simmer on low heat. And it takes about 2 hours to cook this. So that's the reason why I like using a silver pot, a large silver pot, because the milk, these are best for cooking anything with milk, because milk, once it sticks to the bottom, it can burn very easily. So a non-stick pot or even like a steel pot isn't ideal to make this dish. Best pot to use are the silver pots. So if you have any, or actually like a milk pot, because then we know the milk isn't going to burn. It will stick a bit at the bottom, but butter and also using a silver pot prevents it from burning, because if the milk burns at the bottom, it gives the whole Kheer a very bad odor of like a burnt milk odor. So to prevent that, we use a silver pot. So you can see the milk is bubbling, and it's at a very low temperature. We will continuously cook it for about an hour and a half, stirring it occasionally, just to make sure we don't have too much milk sticking at the bottom or the rice sticking at the bottom, until all this reaches like a creamy consistency, and it will happen, but it takes at least an hour and a half for it to get there naturally. Some people like to add cornstarch to give it that thickness, but because I know the rice we're using, which is just a regular basmati white rice, and since we've already boiled them to begin the rice cooking process, we don't really need the milk to cook them. We just want them to dissolve into the milk a bit, giving it that creamy pudding texture. And once we get there, we'll add the sugar, and sugar is one of the last ingredients we will add to Kheer. And before we serve it into a bowl and garnish it with some almonds or pistachios, large pot of Kheer here, but if you want less, you can always reduce the quantity of the ingredients. So just use 1 cup of rice for 1 liter of milk and 1.5 cup of sugar. Also reduce the amount of butter to only 1/4 of a cup. Once the Kheer reaches this consistency, which is creamy, we will add the sugar. So 3 cups of sugar in this quantity, because this is about 30 servings, medium-sized servings of Kheer. So you can adjust the sugar. I mean, this was like a medium sweet for us, but if you want, you can use brown sugar as well. And then so once you add the sugar, you only cook it for another minute or two on low heat, and then you turn the stove off and take the Kheer out in smaller bowls and let it cool on room temperature. And once it's cooled on room temperature, then you can throw it away in the refrigerator. It's good for a week. You can keep it in there, just make sure you keep it covered. It's a gluten-free dessert, so if anyone has gluten allergies or concerns, this is you can see very clean ingredients, so there's no concern of having any sort of gluten in there. And again, this is a very good dessert for the kids, because especially the ones who don't like drinking milk. This is an easy source of calcium, and I hope you like this recipe. If you like my channel, please subscribe and leave any questions or suggestions in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Take care.